What is going on, everybody? Burger Creations back here with another video. And before we get started with today's video about my thoughts on the Ender 3 V2, I have a huge and special announcement I want to make. Alright, so I am very excited and proud to announce that my Etsy shop for Burger Creations is now open. Choose your favorite crewmates at www.etsy.com/shop/burgercreations. Choose between colors of red, orange, blue, and black of your favorite crewmates, or get the raw gray form to color it and paint it and make it your own. Thank you guys all for the support, and now back to your regular scheduled video. Alright guys, so it's actually been a little since I actually posted a video, and I do want to apologize that I think my last video I posted was about like 3 weeks ago. I don't know, it was sometime in December, and I know that was a diamond play button vid. And if you haven't seen that, go check out that video. Link will be in the description and will probably pop up somewhere here on one of the cards. But basically, the reason why I haven't been posting has basically been linked to that machine right there. And for those of you who've watched my videos before, you might see that this setup is completely different than my setup that I had originally, and I'll also explain that as well. So basically, about just after I posted that diamond play button vid, and about, I think it was like a week before October, I started to notice a lot of problems with my extruder. And for those who don't know, the extruder looks like this. That's what an extruder is. Basically, the Ender 3 V2's extruder that it comes with is plastic, and it's highly recommended that you upgrade it, but I did not. Because I thought I could get a little bit more use out of it and a little bit more time out of it, and well, I was wrong. So basically, I started noticing some issues with the filament feeding in with the extruder. Started to notice that sometimes it got stuck or jammed, or it just wasn't feeding correctly or properly like it initially was. And at first I thought it was a lot of user error, or something I'm doing wrong, but I began to figure out maybe I just need to upgrade the extruder. So I ended up asking just for my birthday, because my birthday was the next week, asking for an upgraded metal extruder, and I decided, I would just wait for the part because, hey, it's better, I'd rather get it for free for my birthday, that makes me happy, I don't have to pay money, it makes my family happy, they get a gift, and everyone's happy. So I decided to wait, but around the same time, I was also doing a project from a communications class that I was doing in college, and the communication was basically just in a form of speech, and I decided to write my speech about 3D printing. What I came across was about the PLA is that it's not all that, it's safe, but there are elements that actually makes PLA printing not safe. And I'll show up the article right here, but as you can see right here, I read this, and basically that the melting of the PLA sometimes is not used with 100% organic ingredients, which I believe the filament I use is. However, there's always going to be that chance that it's not, and it can extrude basically different elements that can kind of build up in your lungs and also cause some health issues. And me, being a person who's actually dealt with a decent amount of health issues recently, I really didn't want to take a chance, so I kind of stopped printing altogether on that moment. Initially, my machine was basically directly next to my bed, and it was pretty much printing 24/7. So I was pretty much, and I myself was almost in my room 24/7. So I was breathing in those possible toxins that could be damaging my health, and I thought, what? Let me be preventative instead of reactive and take measures. So after I read that article, I started looking into different things to basically help combat against that, and so the first thing I did was actually move my printer from upstairs to downstairs. So I basically took it from my room, and now it's in my basement where it's currently sitting. The other couple things that I saw to do was to enclose it, that way you can kind of concentrate all the particles in one area, and have a filtration sort system so that it can actually filter the particles out and create fresh air coming out. So I ended up getting this Creality fume tent, which basically also helps keep the heat in, which helps with printing performance, as well as keeps dust and the particles kind of concentrated. And then I also bought an air purifier with a HEPA filter, that way it could filter out those types of fibers and give me clean air when I'm actually working down here or watching TV, or really whoever's in the basement at that time. So I created this filtration system where I kind of keep a little bit of an open area on the right side of the cover. That way, while it's printing, it will basically dispense through that hole and directly into the filter. I also did this because I didn't want to basically kind of build up everything, and then once I open up to get the print out, everything is dispersed. So I decided to create this filtration system because I think it might be the best effective way to combat this. And I know it's probably a much smaller chance, and I know there's many YouTubers and channels and 3D print shops that don't have any of this, but I decided to be more proactive and take precautions. That way, there's really very little chance of me dealing with any shit down the road. Because we all know, I mean, you've seen in the history class, the stuff that we thought was safe turned out not to be so safe. So I decided to take proactive measures on this. So, in the meantime of this, I still had my plastic extruder, and I was waiting for my tent and my filter to be shipped to the house. However, I had my printer in the basement, and no one is in the basement, so I decided, I basically ventilated the basement, and I decided to try to push my luck with my extruder and get one more print out before, you know, I can get the new extruder, I get the tent and everything set up. And well, that ended up being detrimental to my printer. So basically what happened is the extruder somehow skipped or something, or did some sort of error and ended up clogging my main tube. And it was such a bad clog that I ended up having to order a new tube. So I ordered that new tube, but again, I had to wait to actually get the product. So I finally got my metal extruder, so I swapped out that part. I finally got the fume tent with the filter and the air purifier, so I set up all that. So now I was waiting for my replacement tube. So I finally got my tube. I hooked that up to the metal extruder. I replaced the filament nozzle. That way I have no issues. But one thing I didn't take into account was re-leveling the bed, not thinking that maybe me adding that new nozzle, it could be a different leverage, and it ended up doing. So I ended up trying to print right after that without re-leveling my bed, and the nozzle ended up hitting into the bed really hard that first off, it built up a bunch of filament around the nozzle and ended up clogging it, but also it broke the right side springs and knobs of my print bed. So now I had to buy replacement springs and knobs for my print bed. So that ended up being more of a wait time trying to get those parts. When they finally got in, I started having trouble with re-leveling the bed because the springs were a lot bigger than they were supposed to be, and I couldn't get a way to really level them. So I ended up moving the Z-axis up a little bit and, you know, really grinding down the springs so I can get everything level again. And I've done a lot of test prints to make sure everything's working, and that's basically where it leads me here to my current setup. So overall, I would say my experience with the Ender 3 V2 has been pretty much all positive. So for those who didn't watch my first video or maybe not have catched it, I actually bought the Ender 3 Pro before this machine. And I ended up returning the Ender 3 Pro because I had multiple issues. It was very noisy, I was getting terrible prints, and everything was just going wrong. It was freezing, it was just a bad machine. And for spending, I think, what, it was like $250 or $200 or so, I was not happy with my product. I ended up buying it on Amazon, so I was able to do an easy and quick return, and I got the new Ender 3 V2. Overall, the machine has been really excellent, and I'm actually thrilled and very happy with this machine that I got. It has given me substantial and great prints. It's also extremely consistent when it works, and it's just an amazing printer for the money overall. And I think for the money and the budget is a big factor, is because everyone or any reviews you've ever watched of this printer tells you to kind of upgrade the 3 parts that I just talked about the problems with first, and that was something I didn't do and I should have done. So my recommendation is, if you're looking for a great budget printer, I would 100% say get this Ender 3 V2. But I would also say get the replacement parts right away and get almost a kit of the replacement parts that has the metal extruder, the bed springs, and the new knobs, as well as a new Capricorn tube. Don't do like me, where I kind of bought each piece individually, because it's not cost effective and also not time effective. And I think overall though, even with the replacement parts, I'm still extremely happy with the printer. I mean, we all know in order to make something cheaper or something budget, you have to cut corners somewhere, and Ender had to cut some of the corners on the quality of some of the parts. And you know, it does suck, but however, the replacement parts really are not that expensive. I think you can get a pack of them for maybe like 50, or all 3 replacement parts for 50 or 60 bucks. So I really think it's definitely worth it that if you get this printer, just automatically buy the parts right away and switch them out. It's actually very easy to switch out these parts, and there's many videos all online showing you how to do it. And I highly recommend you do this with the printer right away. Now, in terms of the fume tent and the air filtration system, I do recommend getting that. I know people probably counteract me and show me there's probably things that say that there's no reason to, but overall, I'm just being proactive. If you want to be proactive like me, I would 100% recommend getting the fume tent and the HEPA filter. Now, those 2 items are a little bit more pricier, as I think I spent about $80 to get or I think $90 to get a decent air purifier, and I think the tent or the cover itself was 50 to 60 bucks. That's kind of adding prices onto the printer. However, again, I much rather be safer than sorry. And I think overall, money-wise, I'm getting a lot more satisfaction, and it also just kind of looks cool. It's a lot more professional within that tent, especially since I hooked up these lights, by the way. It does not come, I mean, you could probably find one that has lights, but these lights did not come with this. I bought like a $6 pack separate, hooked them up on the top. That way I can kind of see my prints as they go. So anyway, guys, I hope you all enjoyed this different type of video, and if you have any questions about the Ender 3 VT or have any questions for me about my experience with it, you can leave that right down in the comments below. Make sure you go check out my Etsy shop. Even if you are not interested in buying it, it'd be great if you can just check out, just see what it's about. It'd be awesome, guys. Make sure you share it with your friends, or really anyone who loves the game Among Us. Also, make sure you follow me on Instagram to get updates and also just cool pictures in general about the channel and different prints. But I hope you all enjoyed. Make sure you guys have a great day, and that's it, guys. Peace. To the fire, but it's no use, 'cause you can't stop it from shining through. It's true, baby, let the light shine through. If you believe it's true, baby, won't you let the light shine through for you?